So, a very good evening to everyone. Thank you to APR for giving me this opportunity. I am Dr. Ruhi Kumar. I am a medical oncologist at Shashwat Hospital in Rajkot. So, I'll be talking to you about changing the natural history of cancer. So, what's new? What is the latest update? And what is the role of molecular testing, precision oncology, and immunotherapy? So, survival in cancer, how far we have come. Even as a physician, I used to think that patient has stage 4 cancer and they have 6 months to live. But we have come really far from that thinking, and oncology is a rapidly evolving field. So in early stage lung cancer, as you can see, there is a big separation of curves. Earlier, we used to have a 3-year DFS of, so sorry about this, but earlier we used to have a 3-year disease-free survival of around 40%, and we have doubled it with target therapy in non-metastatic setting. In locally advanced setting, we have increased the progression-free survival from 6 months to 40 months. In stage 4 lung cancer, we have doubled the progression-free survival with target therapy alone to 20 months from 10 months. So basically in 2000, okay, so this slide is not properly visible, but what it says is median overall survival in the population in 2000 used to be 8.5 months. In 2020, we have made it 21 months. And this is not just in lung cancer. There is this landmark paper in head and neck cancer. So head and neck cancer is the most common cancer that we see here in the Saurashtra belt. And this is the landmark paper by Dr. Vijay Patil and his team from Tata Memorial Hospital in India only, where immunotherapy costs lakhs. But low-dose immunotherapy is something which is feasible in our setup, in LMIC setup, where we can give one-tenth of the dose at one-tenth of the cost and still have benefit to the patient, where 1 year survival we have increased to 40% from just 16%. This is in head and neck cancer. And in CA rectum, what we used to think was radiation is definitely required, surgery is definitely required, but we have moved on to this landmark paper where we have just given immunotherapy, no chemotherapy, no radiation, no surgery, and the patients are doing well. So we have come a long way. This is CA stomach. We have increased the 5-year survival from 20% to 45% with peri-op chemotherapy. In metastatic triple negative breast cancer, which is considered the worst subset of breast cancer, we have increased survival from 16 months to 23 months. And endometrial cancer, where the treatment had not changed in the last 15-20 years, now based on molecular testing, we can de-escalate the treatment to just observation, where radiotherapy, brachytherapy, surgery, nothing is required, and also escalate based on poor molecular markers. So how was this made possible? Basically, the work of these 3 gentlemen, Sanger we'll recognize, he's the man behind Sanger sequencing, who laid the foundation of the modern DNA sequencing methods. So we have moved on to molecular diagnostics in oncology. So we know, we are familiar with RT-PCR and CML, but now what we do is something called NGS, which is next generation sequencing, and we do this on the tumor cells upfront. We can do this on blood. So what if biopsy is not possible? So a lot of patients hesitate to get repeated biopsies when they progress on their treatment. The ideal thing would be to biopsy the new disease and then send an NGS to see whether the molecular markers have changed and what's the biology of the disease. But if it is not possible, now we can do an NGS on blood, which means tumor cells are there, they are shedding and they are in the bloodstream. With very sensitive assays, we can pick up these tumor cells in the blood, and in that we can find out genetic mutations with very good accuracy. So I have a sample NGS report for you. This is a 37-year-old male adenocarcinoma of stomach with very strong family history of CA stomach and CA colon, with the mother's side, mother's aunt, mother's uncle, mother's sister, everybody has CA colon or CA stomach. So this is what a typical NGS report would look like. This is TMBH and MSI status, based on which we can tell that there is some genetic component and immunotherapy is likely to work. Then there is this MLH1 gene which points to Lynch syndrome in this case. And these were the other mutations found in this case. So so hypermutated hypermutations are there, where there are some target therapies available like BRCA, KRAS, ATM. And also I'd like to point out, in our NGS reports we get something called variant of unknown significance. So our machine is picking up mutations, that these mutations are there. We still don't know whether they are significant or not to drive the tumor, or whether it's targetable or not, but in the future it might be. So that has led us to something called the tissue agnostic approach. Usually what we do is we find out the primary, we diagnose it as breast cancer, then we use the drugs which are tried and tested and do well in breast cancer. But now what we are moving towards is molecular therapy, where we find a target irrespective of the site, whether it be breast, colon, rectum, whatever. But if they have these targets, so whether they when they have these targets, these are the FDA approved targets and these are the drugs. These are all available in India. These are all available in Shashwat. These are all available everywhere. Everybody is using it. This is not just theoretical. So what do we have in our ammunition against the war against cancer? So this is a very famous Time magazine cover which came out in 2001 when imatinib was launched, Gleevec. And basically it was a target therapy which changed CML into like a chronic disease. And so we all thought that we are winning the war against cancer, and it was a very exciting time for all of us. And ammunition against cancer, we have chemotherapy. We know this. It works in cycle dependent and cycle independent manner. But what we have now is targeted therapy, where this target goes just to the tumor cell, hones to the tumor cell, and only acts on the tumor cell. So it reduces the side effect of acting on the normal cells. Then we have antibody drug conjugates like so there is intratumoral heterogeneity. Some tumor cells have the antigen, some don't. So if antigen is there, the antibody will target the tumor cell, and there is a chemotherapy which is attached to this. So there is a antibody drug conjugate. The chemotherapy drug will cause a bystander effect on the cells which don't have that antigen. And immunotherapy, so basically tumors are an immunosuppressive state. They fool our immune system into thinking that this is not a foreign body, so our T cells don't attack the tumor cells. But immunotherapy basically wakes up our immune system to attack the tumor cells. We have CAR T cell therapy, which is basically we take our T cells, we do leukapheresis, take our T cells out, take it to a lab, engineer it and give it back to our body, and it goes and attacks the leukemia cells. We have BiTE therapy. What it does is it forces the T cell to recognize the tumor cell and then attack it. So this is not just theoretical, this is happening in India. So this drug is actually Captogene autoleucel. It is a CAR T cell made by Indians for Indians. It will reduce the cost. It is working. We have already given it in Tata Memorial Hospital in Bombay, and trials are underway. This is another CAR T which is recruiting in Bangalore right now. In fact, we have we are screening one of our patients to send for this trial. So I'd just like to highlight a few long-term survivors who really surprised us. 63-year-old female, she was diagnosed case of CA lung in 2020. She was non-metastatic, she received chemo-RT, but she had residual disease left and she had this EGFR target. So we started her on first generation anti-EGFR target therapy, which is erlotinib, and when she didn't tolerate that, we gave her gefitinib. She's been on it since September 2021 and she's doing well. In fact, she had so this is July 2025, this is her PET, this is her disease. And in October, you can see that the there has been some metabolic resolution in the disease. So basically the drug is still working, patient is doing well. In fact, she had a second malignancy detected in April 2025 a neuroendocrine tumor in the duodenum, for which she is on follow-up. Another case, she is a 68-year-old female diagnosed case of CA breast in 2016. She was hormone positive. She was on curative intent, but unfortunately she progressed after 5 years. And following which she received multiple lines chemotherapy, she received targeted therapy, she received antibody drug conjugate, and this was her on antibody drug conjugate. This was her disease which was progressing in June 2025, and we put her on immunotherapy, and she had a complete metabolic response in September 2025. So this is almost 9 years after diagnosis and complete metabolic response. Another case, head and neck cancer. He is a 47-year-old male. So 15 years ago, he was diagnosed with CA buccal mucosa. He was operated. There was no other treatment given at that time, and he had a disease-free survival of 10 years. He recurred in March 2020, for which he underwent surgery and radiation. After 1.5 years, again he recurred in September 2021, and this time we gave him chemo, but the chemo was not working and he was not tolerating it. And so basically we put him on some small oral tablets, metronomic therapy, and we started him on low dose immunotherapy. So this is like less than 1/10 of the dose. We started him on September 2022. We are in 2025 December. He's still doing well, and this is his disease. Completely disease-free, complete metabolic response, head and neck cancer. So basically, I wanted to highlight that we have come a long way. We can offer a lot of things to our patients, and we can really tailor the treatment to each patient, especially with the advent of molecular therapy, molecular testing. And we have a lot of drugs in our armamentarium which are available right now. Here, we can start it today. So that's my talk. Thank you so much.